Are you in a season where it looks like nothing seems to be happening in your business? No clients, no revenue, no momentum. You probably feel stuck and stagnant. And you're telling yourself that you need to do more, hustle more, do more outreach, do more strategy. You've probably been taught the same way I was, that if you're not doing more, if you're not doing outreach, if you're not sowing seeds in your business, that you're probably falling behind. But let me ask you this. What if the very act of pushing even harder, forcing, is actually preventing your next level from arriving? This week, I did not do a single business activity. Yet, I found this to be the most productive week in this entire journey. I didn't do any outreach, no strategy, no hustle. In this video, I'm going to be walking you through 5 real-life incidents that unfolded in my reality this week and sharing with you how they impacted me using the EPIC lens, which is the emotional, physical, intellectual, and consciousness layers of my operating system. 2, reveal why the meaning you assign to any incident that unfolds in your reality can either drain you or uplift you energetically. 3, show you the identity test that proves whether your shift is real. And it's usually not the big stage moment. It is your old self slowly trying to sneak its way back in. 4, share why your most productive business week may look nothing like what you've imagined, where you're doing nothing, practically nothing, and your beingness happens to be your highest revenue building strategy. Stay till the end, because the lesson that landed for me this week may actually be the very lesson you need to be hearing from me so as to unlock your next level of growth. If you're tracking this series, please make sure that you subscribe to my channel, hit the bell icon to be notified every time I post a new video. Hi, my name is Ajita and welcome to my YouTube channel. After 20 plus years of corporate executive experience, I am now the strategic advisor to tech founders and executive leadership teams, unlocking and up-leveling their internal leadership capacity architecture for leading at visionary scale. What I share with you in this video is my live business building experience. I'm not building this business from hustle and grind. Instead, I'm using 4 key principles, what I call the 4 I's. Number 1, infinite intelligence. 2, identity. 3, intuition. 4, inspired action. This is my live case study of building my business from 0 to $4.4 million in 12 months or less, using the framework EPIC Leadership Operating System, which is the same framework that I use with my clients, where in EPIC, the E stands for emotional, P for physical, I for intellectual, and C for consciousness. Week by week, you will see invisible shifts creating visible results, and we are now on week 10. Let's see what's shifted. The first incident I want to share with you this week is something I alluded to or talked about last video as well, which is completing the 85-hour-long fasting. Of course, it was not a once and done thing. It had its ramifications well into this week, and that's why I'm bringing that as the first key item. The fact that I started it on the nudge from infinite intelligence and stuck with it for 85 hours made all the difference for me in the week that followed, which is this week. The first thing I want to celebrate is my body feels absolutely new. My ability to process food and my ability to even channel the energy and feel the energy move through my body has exponentially increased. Meditations are feeling like I'm in a whole different dimension. I can feel the energy coursing through my entire body, and the emotions are far quicker to be alchemized. When I feel any type of emotion, it's very quick to shift. In fact, the biggest celebration has been that I have been consistently feeling absolutely joyful. You know, I set the intention of building this business joyfully, and I'm so glad I did, because this 85-hour-long fast actually has helped me stay consistently emotionally in the spectrum of joy. All through this week, I've been smiling, I've been singing spontaneously, as if, you know, there's just such expansiveness in my space. So emotionally, I would say it was one of the most joyful weeks. There was nothing outside that has changed. It's simply my perception, my ability to feel the joy incrementally increased because I have let go of so much through the 85-hour-long fast. The second thing, of course, is the physical body. My ability, of course, to eat more food, the amount that I used to eat before decreased because of the fasting. And actually it's a good thing because I'm not overeating, and I'm also very mindful of what I'm putting in my body. I've stayed away from processed food all week. I've been cooking actively in a way that brings me joy in the food that I eat, home cooked food, things that just feed my soul. It's been beautiful to experience. And intellectually, I will say there have not been many thoughts bothering me in terms of bringing my energy down or making me feel doubt, worry. Very, like somewhere minutely in the backdrop it's running, and I'm simply observing it. So intellectually, I will say I've been in a much better place this past week, and I do feel the anchoring of my new identity on the consciousness layer. It is so clear that the fasting literally accelerated my identity shift to the new version pretty intensely and deeply. So the embodiment of this new identity, I will say with conviction and certainty that it has now anchored in my beingness. And the second element that I want to talk about in this incident is something got accelerated as a result of this shift. And the acceleration was I actually started the process of creating a trust for keeping my assets so that they get handed over to my children in case of any untimely crossing over. And this is a process that I started almost 2 years ago. And ironically, I started this process of setting up a trust because it was my way of demonstrating that I truly trusted the universe, infinite intelligence. And the weirdness of this is that the last 2 years have been so difficult to navigate overall in terms of processing on all 4 levels of my EPIC operating system framework. And what started almost 2 years ago, I've been dragging that process, and I'm so grateful for the attorney that I'm working with, that she did not pressure me, she did not follow up like a zillion times, nothing. She just gave the documents once they were drafted and ready, and I sat on it. I kept postponing for whatever reason. It wasn't even the payment. I had like $900 to pay her to finish the process, but I just was dragging my feet for 2 full years. I did not want to move forward to sign and conclude that process. And to the point where my younger one even became an adult. So the text in the trust document no longer was even relevant in some areas. So what dawned on me is this awareness, because she did message me saying, hey, we are just checking in. Are you ready to sign off on the final version? And I'm like, it's time. It's time. And so I made that decision. I said, this is my demonstration. The intention with which I started this trust process was to demonstrate trust in infinite intelligence. And now it is time to demonstrate it fully and completely. So I met with her quickly, like 30 minutes this past Tuesday, and made the necessary changes, and she sent me the final version. I've made the payment, it's complete. And the reason I'm celebrating this is because I think it is a relief. For me, it is emotionally a relief that I'm not dragging something open-ended anymore. And in terms of my physical body, the fact that something was concluded, that I finished something I started, this is so important. I'll be talking more about this week, is because when we finish something we start, we are actually signaling to the universe that we are ready to receive. Anything we start, when we complete, we are signaling that we are ready to receive. And that is, physically, it felt like a whole load has lifted off of me. And needless to say, a lot was of course lifted off with the 85-hour-long fast, but this one felt viscerally complete and a relief. Intellectually, I will say wiring. In this particular incident, the key wiring shift for me was I am not delaying because of money or the balance I need to pay, none of that. I kind of just had to completely discard all those thoughts that were coming up and say, no, this is my commitment to complete what I started and to receive, and not only to demonstrate to the universe that I am now fully in trust of the universe, but also to receive the goodness that the universe has for me by demonstrating this trust. I think for me, the identity shift with this trust document completion and making that payment and finishing the processing has been, I'm someone who completes things. And that's an identity, right? I am a person who completes things that I start. It's an identity shift in itself, and I celebrate that, like I said, because completing something is signaling that you start something, you finish something. That means you've closed a loop and you have completed something in order to be able to receive the goodness. So when we start something, we are sending energy out to the universe, and when we complete it, we are saying we are now ready to receive it back in multitude forms, amplified versions, etc. So I'm celebrating that. So you may ask, what's in it for you? Well, your takeaway is this: your body is a storage unit for the very identity that you're holding and every identity that you have ever held. And so every unfinished transaction that is running in your reality, in your life, is actually an open loop that's draining your energy. So the fastest path sometimes is not always more mindset work. It's actually sometimes physically clearing what is weighing you and closing those energy leaks by completing that which you started. In my case, I did that with fasting and with completing an open-ended transaction that was running for 2 years in a row. Pay attention and reflect. Are there any open-ended transactions that are running in your life? Is there a bill that is outstanding and not paid? Is there a debt that you owe to somebody and you know you have the money to pay but you haven't? So close that open-ended transaction and watch what happens. So incident 2. 3 incidents arrived back to back this week, and all of them had one purpose: to check which identity I am embodying at this moment. The first one was a denial of extension that I had requested from the IRS audit team until May 1st, so as to be able to respond to the audit report with necessary documentation. The second is my mentor that I joined the inner circle group for actually mentioned something, which was every time you become aware of something that is unconscious, it is no longer unconscious. And so by declaring that there is something blocking me, it's actually creating the block. Start saying instead that I am now aware of what I was unaware of, and thereby it is now no longer blocking me. And the third is an old client who reached out to me for some other discussion and asked if I still did healings and readings and things that I used to do before. And they look disparate, unconnected and separate, but for me they all reflected the same thing. On an emotional layer, getting a denial letter could have put me in a victim mode, unfairness mode, and blame mode. Instead, I looked at it and I said, beautiful. Literally what I told myself is, the infinite intelligence is saying your time and energy is needed somewhere else. So don't waste your time trying to get extension to respond to something that is irrelevant. This is the narrative. This is the story. This is the narrative that I chose to attach to that incident. And also the same day, I had hired my tax attorney that very morning. So I was very cool, saying, great, I've hired my tax attorney. I've made the payment for her first retainer payment. And I was like, I'm going to send it to her, ask her for input, and move on from there. So it's emotionally, I didn't freak out, right? Intellectually, I had done the reframing. Physically, I was already in this place of calmness, coolness, joy. The entire week, my physical body, my emotional body, more or less were in the same place, which is joy is my natural state, and physical body was cool and composed. The old client asking me about whether I still did healings, the old me would have normally jumped on and said, oh, now this is a nice way to make money, opportunity. None of that. I didn't even talk about anything to do with the healing work. In fact, I specifically mentioned to her that I no longer work with clients. I have a very specific focus, and that is tech founders, tech entrepreneurs, tech leaders, and tech companies. That's all. That's my audience, and I don't work with anybody else. And the interesting thing about that conversation also is the embodiment of the identity that I was holding by saying, the person was trying to find my perspective about what's going on in the world, about some of the spiritual gurus that are well known in the Indian community and how they are being perceived with the new scandal that has broken out and so on. And also talked about some other individual that we both are familiar with and what I thought about that person. And my identity was so anchored in the non-judgmental version of me that I gave the most wisest answer. I said, there is no person who's good or bad. It is simply our interaction and our perception that when we have an interaction with them, what is it that we are being invited to learn through that person and their presence in our life? And so many of us deem the other person as the villain and us as the hero. In reality, there is no hero or villain. They are simply playing their part that you have given to them in your life to play so that you can remember something about yourself. So my answer to both situations about the spiritual guru and the perception of people around about that person, or about this individual that we both knew, my perception and the response was the same. I said everybody has a role to play in our reality, and everybody is dealing with their own shadows, their own demons, and their own angels. So we don't get to judge anybody to be right or wrong. We get to learn what is it that they are reflecting about us in our journey, because that takes away the focus on other people. Instead, it shifts the focus back onto us, which is where the complete control lies anyway. And the reason I'm celebrating this on a consciousness layer level is because the identity that I've anchored is feeling so true to who I am. This is who I have always been. Now I get to fully embody it without getting pulled by any external incident. I believe these are incidents that I have orchestrated for my own self to reflect back to say, yep, the new version is here, she has arrived, I've arrived in this new version, and I'm fully embodying this wonderful version of me that is non-judgmental, that is fully accepting of everybody as they are and everything as it is, because no incident has the power to throw me off the rails unless I allow for it to, which is why the IRS extension denial didn't have an effect on me. In terms of my mentor's statement about making the unconscious conscious and knowing that we should stop looking for or believing that there's something blocking us, because the more we believe, the more we dig, and the more we dig, it's an endless pit, in all honesty, because we'll keep creating new things to block us so that we can keep releasing them. Not required. Such a beautiful awareness shift on the consciousness layer this week, just with these 3 incidents, because they all anchored the realization for me that the new identity is now here. And this is something my mentor in the Systems Within talked about. He said the statement, I do what I do and magic happens. I think for me, I changed it a little bit to say, I be who I am truly and the magic happens. Because when I'm in the beingness of who I am and do something from that beingness as an inspired action, magic happens. And that's what I'm anchoring for myself through these incidents. The outer OS action for this one, I would say I sent the letter that I got, the denial letter from IRS to my attorney that I had hired. Between her and I, we created the response and we submitted it, faxed it on time on Saturday. Saturday was the deadline. Now, what's your takeaway from this experience? The ultimate test of your identity shift is not usually a big stage moment where you get to be in this grand finale where you get to exhibit your new version to other people. In fact, it's usually in these small, minuscule thoughts, actions, responses that you give that show up in these minor moments in your life. And each one is an opportunity to ask yourself, which version am I operating from? And then respond from there, think from there, feel from there, act from there. And last but not the least, the meaning you assign to anything that unfolds in your reality determines whether you're going to be uplifted or you're going to be drained. Super important to become aware of. So I would love to leave you with this question. Anytime when anything happens in your reality, please ask yourself, what meaning am I assigning to this particular event or incident? The answer to that can change everything about your reality and how you perceive it. Now, incident 3 happened on Thursday in the morning. This is the day the to-do list died for me, figuratively. So on Thursday morning, as I was stepping out of the shower, I noticed some spots in my face and I was like, oh my God, I need to get this checked with dermatologist. And then I caught myself and I said, no, there is no need to in my life. There are no shoulds, there are no musts, there are no needs in my life. If I am to do something, I will be guided. I'm so deeply connected to infinite intelligence that my intuition is way louder than my logic right now. And I believe it's going to be the case for me moving forward because that's the identity that I'm embodying. So if my intuition is loud, it's going to tell me exactly what to do about anything in my life, including any spots on my face. And the reason I'm celebrating this or calling this as a key incident is because all through the week, there was my mind that was saying, hey, you need to start gathering tax documents. You need to start gathering tax document. You're not doing anything about it. You have to be responding. You're going to be hiring a lawyer, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like, I said, does it feel energized for me to sit and work on tax documents? And the answer was no. I said, okay, if it's not energizing, it's not joyful, if it doesn't fuel me, I'm not going to do it, right? And this awareness of I don't need to do anything is something that triggered a whole epic shift for me. Emotionally, I was feeling very, very joyful. There was no anxiety. Even though the mind kept telling you need to work on the tax documents, I didn't feel the urge to, and I was very calm and peaceful about it. So emotionally, I was pretty grounded, calm. I wasn't rattled. I was not in any sense of urgency. And the second thing, on a physical level, I will say body. On Thursday, I also attended the concluding systems within session where we did something called a power animal retrieval. It was a great experience. And so that day, physically, I was also quite energized. Intellectually, I would say the very narrative, there are no shoulds, there are no musts, there are no needs in my life. I think that is a big reframe for me. On a consciousness layer level, it has become so clear that I act only on intuition. The inspired action is a direct correlation to my intuition. That is how I act. There is no must do this, should do this, got to do this, have to do this. There are no such conditions anymore in my life, anymore in my operating system. And so the identity is one of someone who acts from a place of absolute knowing and intuitive nudge to take inspired action. What happened because of this is the key. When my attorney reached back out and said, okay, I want you to put a document together. Whatever you have put together, please share it with me because I want to draft a response for this IRS letter, audit response. And I was not doing any of that until then, right? So Friday, I sat using my AI, 20 minutes, I created a full response document. I sent it to her. Then she immediately came back and said, well, we need supporting documents for this, which I was trying to stall and see if I can do it later because I was not feeling the call to. And then she said, okay, we need your documentation that supports all these claims that you're making. I said, great. So I sat on Friday, 4 hours non-stop because I was in the zone. I didn't push myself, but the push came from outside. The ask came from outside, and I said, okay, if this ask outside, I got to do this, right? So no resistance. It was clearly the knowing that I'm acting either from a place of inspired action, which is coming from within, or external action, which is somebody asking me to do something because they are waiting on me to get something done. These are the only two forces that are making me take action these days. I'm not shoulding myself, musting myself, and having and needing myself to do anything, which is the point I'm trying to make. So the outer operating system work is that I gathered the IRS documentation required within 4 hours of focus, sent the complete package version to her on time, that we ended up faxing on Saturday, right within the deadline. So now you may ask, what's your takeaway as a listener? Instead of having a to-do list, consider having a to-be list. Because this week, I grounded on my beingness to be joyful, to be singing, to be smiling, to be relaxed, to be resting. See, you can see all of this is beingness. I wasn't doing anything unless something asked me to externally or from internally. And so your highest leverage action may not be in your to-do list. But the question is, are you listening to your intuition enough to know what that inspired action is for you? Or are you getting caught up in your mind's shoulds and musts and needs that you're forgetting and missing this beautiful nudge coming from within your intuition? Incident 4, Friday. Friday was full embodiment day. It was total blast. Why? Because 3 things happened. Number 1, I had an amazing client session in the morning for an hour and a half. She had incredible shifts. It was just heartwarming to see those changes. Number 2, I got a whole new hairstyle, hopefully it's evident, including a new color in my hair. I was actually inspired to get red, violet, more like fuchsia color on my hair, but unfortunately that's not what landed, but I'm happy with whatever that landed. As you can see, it's red, white, it's more reddish than not. And so I had a blast getting myself ready, and all of this for what? To attend a concert. As I said last week, I have not attended a concert in 2 years. And so I absolutely had a blast in this one. I got a VIP seat, front row ticket, and I was absolutely having a party because I was singing, I was dancing non-stop. Literally every song they sang I knew, including a language one which happens to be my mother tongue. I sang that song as well with them. And to the point where all the three performers, the three key lead performers of the concert noticed me. I actually had a meet and greet with them after the session, after the concert, and all three of them looked at me and said, "You were having a party." And so they noticed me, and I took a beautiful picture because I was alone. They actually stood not at the ends of the three of them, but actually in the middle with them, and I'm waiting still for the picture to come through. It was incredible. Friday was just incredible. Needless to say, emotionally, I was just joyful, completely joyful. I was singing, dancing. I was in a different dimension. I thoroughly enjoyed the experience of attending that concert, and now I understand why it feeds my soul so much. Not only to be a performer on stage, which I am, I love performing, I love singing, but I also love attending concerts because I can see how much the performers get energized by the audience. And having me in your audience is the best thing that can happen for you if you're a performer, because I am a complete cheerleader for everybody who's on stage, no matter what you're doing, speaking, dancing, acting, singing. I'm your cheerleader. I would say I felt seen, I felt radiant, seen, and magnetic. I was not at all self-conscious. I could care less what anybody thought. I was having a blast, to the point where one of the ladies in the second row moved up to the front in the end, and she came and danced with me, and then she says, "You dance so well." I'm like, "Thank you." I took that compliment because I do love dancing. On the physical level, of course, I was recovering from a 85-hour-long fast, and my body still hadn't gotten back to eating normally. So there was a level of exhaustion that came after all the dancing. I came home after midnight. I went to sleep at 1:30, and next day was a complete exhaustion. I skipped my dance class on Saturday because I was completely exhausted. I slept extra 2 hours during the day to just make my body catch up. And this is me learning to honor both the joy, high spectrum, high-end energy spectrum, as well as allowing my body to rest the day after, has been the best thing I could have done. Intellectually, I will say, I'll give a quick story. Because I do watch YouTube astrology videos. Don't ask me why, because I'm still getting over that part of my identity. So I was watching this astrology video that the lady there said, if you're driving on the 17th, it's new moon, you got to watch for traffic and accident, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, they kept running in the backdrop for me like a white noise, okay? Because this is why it's so important to watch what you watch, okay? If you're watching stuff that goes straight into your subconscious and you take them to be true, they're part of your operating system, right? So I should know better. I heard that and I didn't quite discard it immediately, right? It was running as a background thread in my system. So I paused and I asked, okay, let me tune into my heart and feel truly, am I scared? Is there any part of me that intuitively feels it is unsafe for me to travel to this concert? I tuned in, I'm like, heck no, feels great. Okay. So that's the mind, right? The mind is putting doubts. And I said, okay, I'm choosing now, this is not true for me. I anchored my truth. I didn't quite let it sit and simmer in the backdrop, because that would have been detrimental, because you don't know what it can sabotage for you. Instead, I sat with it, I asked it, I tuned into it, and I said, no, my intuition says I am to be there, to have a blast and enjoy. That's what the intuition says. So the mind is the one that's bringing the doubt, and I'm refusing to buy into it. It's not my reality. That astrology reading is wrong. I decided, I concluded, and I shifted it out of my system. This is so important for all of you that are listening, because we tend to put a lot of things into our operating system on a daily basis. We watch a lot of social media, a lot of movies, TV, whatever you're watching, you're putting into your subconscious, because once your conscious mind says yes to something and you're exposing your conscious mind to that thing, your subconscious is an automatic yes machine. It's going to say yes to everything that your conscious mind says yes to. So please pay attention to what you're watching, what you're consuming, both physically and mentally, intellectually, and also pay attention to what are you subscribing to, what are you saying yes to, what are you believing to be true for you, because that determines what you create in your reality. Okay, so I wanted to share this astrology story because it is so important that every point, no matter how self-aware you are, every point you got to be tuning in to ask, what is this white noise thread running in my operating system that is bothering me? Because that, when you catch and you decide whether you're going to say yes to it or no to it, makes a difference in your reality. This consciousness operating system, I was in my complete, joyful, authentic, radiant, beautiful self. My hair was so well done. I was wearing a sequin top. I was living in the identity of someone who is an absolute joy and a blast to be around. And people could feel that around me. People could feel that around me, and I know that because some of them came and told me what a joy it was to just watch me dance and then join me as, where they could. So I was embodying the identity of someone who shifts the energy in the place that I walk into. That's who I was. And I did that with joy. I did that with my music. I did that with my dance. And I did that with my presence. And that's my identity that I'm claiming to be the version this point on. In terms of outer operating system action, everything that I described as an incident itself was the outer operating system action. Now coming to your takeaway. What is your listener takeaway? When someone else says something about your life, makes a prediction, concludes about what you feel in your body or what you should believe, please note, no one else has authority over you and your operating system but you. Your body will speak before your mind does. You know, and only you know what is right for you. As much as I'm sharing this journey live and being absolutely raw, vulnerable, and unfiltered in my journey, I want you to only take what resonates for you. That's why I'm leaving a lot of these listener takeaways with questions rather than declarations. Because what I may declare to be true for me may not be true for you. So please ask yourself, question again, right? Ask yourself, is this my truth? Whatever it is that you're listening to, hearing to, ask yourself, is this my truth? Because your truth is different and will be different from other people's. Unfortunately, we all think that the answer to everybody's life is the same. It's not, because we all have different question papers. And so you have to ask yourself, is what I am thinking right now true for me? Is what I'm believing right now true for me? Is what I'm feeling right now true for me? That's where you will find your path, your compass, and your journey. That's the path you are meant to be on. So please do not give authority to anyone else. And I'm saying this as someone who has given my authority to pretty much everybody outside of me until recently. And so I say it with a lot of compassion. Incident number 5. This was Saturday and Sunday. And this is a very emotional one and a very tender one, because this is where I truly realized and felt the hands of God or hands of infinite intelligence in my life. What really happened was on Saturday, I had to start gathering all the documents needed for the lawyer. And that's when I started tracing a lot of bank statements and things like that back to 2018, 2019. And I realized how much I've been held by the infinite intelligence through that journey. Because I remember when I quit my job in 2019 and I moved my money from my 401k to my IRA, which for those of you that are not aware, it's the 401k is what your company puts aside for your retirement, and you contribute to that pool. And when you leave a job, you move that money into a personal retirement account, okay, managed by potentially a financial planner. So the day when I moved that money is exactly the day COVID was declared. And so my money was in transit between the two retirement accounts and was unaffected by the market fluctuation that happened during COVID. Okay, that's one. Number two, throughout that entire period, I could see the amount of money that I had been given through my severance from the job, and how much I kept earning, how much I kept saving, how much my portfolio grew. Like, I was watching all of that and I felt such immense gratitude that why have I been living in such lack for all these years? Past 7 years, I kept looking at what I didn't have. I don't have clarity on my clients. I don't have the level of success that I want. I'm not making 7-figure business income yet. Like, I was looking at everything that I wasn't having. Instead, when I looked at through these documents, through this financial statements and everything, it showed me how much I've been blessed in the last 7 years. To the toughest part of my life, toughest parts of my life for the last 7 to 10 years, especially last 7 years, especially last 2 years. And I was shown how beautifully I was held by the hands of infinite intelligence through this process. And on Sunday, I was reading this book, Awaken the Species, which is Conversations with God, Book 4 by Neil Donald Walsh. And I found a paragraph that was so relevant to what I have been journeying through and why I'm even doing this YouTube video. Okay, this is what the paragraph says. Allow your personal growth and your struggle to achieve it to be on display, to be modeled publicly. By allowing your personal evolutionary process to be observed by others, it can become a means by which the evolutionary process of all humanity is advanced. This makes perfect sense. I've shared about my struggles in the last 10 years pretty openly. I've posted about it on LinkedIn, Facebook, I talk about it. And here I am building my business with a new level of focus, new level of identity to a $4.4 million level of revenue without having an idea of how it's going to unfold, but I've declared it. It's going to happen in 12 months or less. This is the most vulnerable I can ever be, because the worst thing that can happen is none of that happens and I get judged, or even worse, I judge myself, right? Those are the worst possibilities. And when I declared and I started the series, I was already prepared that that's a fear that I don't have place for in my life, because it is not about me. The very act of declaring, the very act of showing up every week and sharing my journey with all of you in this platform is an act of personal growth. It's an act of declaration of my new identity. So there is not a shred of doubt in my heart, in my mind, whether this is going to happen or not. No doubts, because the declaration is the message to the universe saying, I have done my part. And I'm doing my part every week by showing up here, sharing what has shifted in my internal operating system with my own framework, with my very vulnerable events that have unfolded and processing that I'm going through, so that other people can benefit from it. And which is why I've added the listener takeaway now into every one of my videos in every section, to have you reflect, how can you use this experience of mine in your reality? So in my perspective, the very act of showing up publicly, sharing your growth in a very vulnerable way, you've already set the awakening of the species in motion. Needless to say, emotionally, immense gratitude. I have been feeling such depth of gratitude, especially in my morning meditations, and even realizing these moments of realization when they land, they're so powerful that it just brings a well of gratitude in my heart. Body, in terms of integration, I did walk. I'm continuing to walk, doing a little bit of yoga. Again, my body is not fully back yet in terms of its fullness, operation-wise after the fasting, and I'm okay with it. I'm taking it as easy as I can. And the fact that I can physically feel the energy coursing through my body during morning meditations has been a blessing in itself. Intellectually, I will say, again, gratitude, reframing of whatever is happening, that even the IRS audit and the documentation that I'm gathering is actually an opportunity for me to reflect how beautifully I've been held through this entire journey. I think the key message for me on the consciousness layer is this, that there's a strong message for me from infinite intelligence that you have sown all that needs to be sown. And you are now on the other end with incredible awareness of who you are. Get ready, because you're going to be talking to some of the wealthiest people on this planet, and they do not have what you have, which is the level of spiritual awareness, the consciousness level that you're holding. And so stand in that knowing and bring that gift to those people. That's God's message, or that's infinite intelligence message to me. So I set an intention for my upcoming Silicon Valley Bay Area trip next 2 weeks. and that is to attract 4 high-level, ready to work with me clients one-on-one for a 30-day engagement, and minimum of 2 venture capitalists that I'm partnering with in helping their ventures and their founders in their ventures succeed. That's the vision. I do have a number that I've set, intentional goal. It's $200,000 or more. That's the intention. But I'm not attached to it. I've declared it now. If it doesn't happen, it's okay. If it happens, great. And that's the consciousness layer of upgrade in this particular awareness that has come through. In terms of outer action, because I've been in this space of gratitude, of joy, obviously it's flow state. And needless to say, this week as well, I won a game with both my boys, a mahjong game. We played it on iPad because my older one is in New York right now, and we all 3 played multiple rounds, and I won the last round that determined who wins the game. I won. So it's been a very fascinating experience to see what all unfolds when you are in the flow. So what's your takeaway from this incident and experience of mine? The thing that you're resisting is the very thing that is designed to show you how supported you've always been. So go back, look at maybe your money trail. Look at all the times when you were asking and were in lack or were looking for something, in need of something, and how something showed up magically, appeared. It could be money, it could be support, it could be opportunities. Reflect back, because there is your opportunity to bring more gratitude into your life, to shift your perspective from one of lack to one of abundance. So did you relate to any of these incidents? Did you derive any aha moments from my questions that I've asked you to reflect on? If so, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And I also have been reading the book, both Awaken the Species, Conversations with God, Part 4, and Friendship with God. Those are the 2 key books that I'm reading right now. Besides Faith is Your Fortune is the other book. So 3 books I'm reading at the moment. So here's what I want to leave you with this week. This was my least productive week according to normal definition. I did not hustle, I didn't strategize, I didn't sit in front of my computer for hours, I didn't do any content planning, nothing. Yet it was the most important week in who I was being, my state of beingness. Because what actually happened last week of clearing my physical body through the 85-hour-long fast released the old remnants of my old identity, and in the financial loop that I was avoiding, committing to getting my trust document done, has been closed and completed. I have now engaged an attorney for my IRS audit purposes. I even was unaffected by a request to work with somebody who's my old client. It didn't even occur to me to go back to the old version. The essence of all that I'm sharing is this, that when your new identity is fully anchored, because you are no longer operating from those old thoughts, beliefs, patterns, feelings, narratives, or stories. And none of this work this week is hustle. It is my leadership architecture that has gone through an immense upgrade. So if you're watching this and you are in a season where you feel like nothing is happening, maybe revenue is not coming, clients are not arriving, or maybe you're in this in-between liminal state, the world is going to ask you to do more, to act more, to hustle, to push, to grind. And my humble request to you is this. Ask yourself, does hustling, grinding, and doing more feel resonant at this time? If not, what if this is actually a call for you to upgrade who you are being? Who are you called to being at this moment? Who are you being asked to be as your next level version that can then bring momentum into your life and business? The answer to this question is what's going to unlock your next level momentum, next level identity, next level growth, and next level prosperity. The harvest doesn't come from more sowing. It comes from standing still long enough without needing to uproot what you have sown. Let it be in trust and faith for it to blossom and bloom. If this video resonated for you, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel, share this video with other people who might love this kind of content, push the bell icon to be notified the next time I upload any videos. I'll see you next week.